Mouni Rajkummar. Welcome to peepingmoon.com.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'm going to ask you a tricky question. Given the fragile relations between India and China, if their president Xi Jinping were to see your film, would he be entertained or would he be upset?
I think he will definitely be entertained. Both our Prime Minister, our PM, Modi ji, and Xi Jinping, I think both of them will definitely be entertained because it's a human story. It's an aspirational story of this young Gujarati struggling businessman who's trying to make it big in his life. And in that journey, how he ends up landing in China, and then from there he gets some recipe. And then it's all about an entertainment.
And there are no digs, in the film. Any kind of digs played on Chinese people. So I don't know. In fact, if anything at all, I think it's a very relatable plot. So people everywhere in the world can. It's aspiration. It's about a man and his dreams.
How does your Guju character land up in China? Gujus normally go to the USA. It is the Sindhi who goes to Hong Kong and China.
By accident, he just lands up there. It was not in the plan. It was never in the plan of his life to go even outside India somewhere. Actually, even outside Gujarat. Yeah, he's somebody who's very happy at home and wants to do something in his own city, Ahmedabad. But that's the story, like how he lands up there and finds this secret recipe.
How different would you say is an entrepreneur struggling with a startup from a Bollywood newcomer without a godfather?
Not too different, actually. Just that when you're an actor, like you are looking for work, you're selling yourself, you're selling your talent to get that work. As a startup entrepreneur, I would say you are selling your product, whatever your product or your commodity is. But in both ways, I think you have to just sell.
Yeah, to convince somebody that you are good or you're talented, and to convince somebody that the commodity you're trying to sell is good.
Worth
I
it,
think it's pretty much it's a similar struggle, not same. It can't be the same because here it's on you. If the moment you become the product, it slightly becomes more personal. So I guess which is why actors in general you will find them way more creative and all about creating art, but at the same time you could see them very prone to slightly being anxious or restless. Whether if it's a businessman, you know that there's a product that you're selling, and if something is unsuccessful, it's people didn't like what he was selling and not the person himself.
And also you can always move on to the next product.
The next product. Here you stuck with who you are.
Does the idea behind Made in China reflect in your own lives in some way, the past?
I could relate to Raghu's ambitions. He's a very ambitious guy and he's somebody who never had a plan B. So these are a couple of qualities and his things in life that I could totally relate to, because when I started out, I also never had a plan B. This is the only thing I always wanted to be, to act in films. And Raghu is also very ziddi, that if he has to do it, he has to do it. There's no other way. No matter what the world is saying, no matter what his extended family is saying, he would just be with his plan.
Rukmini is independent and fierce and in her own way, but I guess she somehow gave up on when the character brief was given to me. I was told that she's probably from a metropolitan city like a Delhi or Bombay, and she's lived there all her life, and she had her own dreams and ambitions, but she meets Raghu and falls in love with him and leaves everything and comes to Ahmedabad. So on one hand, I do relate to her as being the independent person that she is, how she loves her family, how she loves her husband. But on the other hand, probably me as a person, I'd like to balance both. I'd want to work and have a family life.
You said you had no plan B. Now, if both of you hadn't been successful at what you're doing right now, what kind of business venture would you all have thought of? And would that be, would it be long and honest, hard hours, blood, sweat and tears, or would it be a jugaad like this movie?
I had set out to be an IAS officer. So, and I became an actor. I was walking outside my uni, somebody tapped my shoulder and said, auditions going on, would you like to? There were 6 of us, we just went, fun's sake, and that's how I came to Bombay.
Now for me, this is the only dream I saw since I was a kid in school, that to be here in front of you and talking about my films.
If you were an entrepreneur, what would you like to say?
If I have to be an entrepreneur, I don't know, personally I don't think so. I'm very good with handling money, so yeah.
Acting school.
Where I'll only study,
I'll sell saris. I love saris. Bengali saris. The hand-printed ones.
I'll join her. I'll be her partner.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Your message in the film is never say die. This at a time when such reputed establishments and institutions are collapsing in the country. What do you have to say about that? Are you going to inspire people, or
Yeah, definitely. I hope people get inspired by Raghu's journey, because as we were talking earlier, it is an aspirational film. It teaches you a lot of things just by entertaining you as well. I think it's a good combination of both these things. But talking about what's happening, about the collapse that's happening in the country of a lot of big companies and banks, it's unfortunate. Yeah,
Something always happening. It's
this happens.
almost like saying change is the universal
Truth. Yeah.
that wouldn't stop new startups from happening or old, so people who know what the demands are, they would not cease to exist, I guess.
see, recent films like Made in China and earlier ones, I won't mention all of them, they are bringing out taboo subjects that have never been discussed. Like sex change, same-sex relationships, superstition. All these are coming out in the form of comedy.
Yes.
This is a new trend.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that it's happening because, time immemorial, if you go back and read, there's just so much to do, not just these, like say there's a small little folklore that he did that Stree came from, or so many of these other films. India is a country of so many stories and so many teachings and so many things that actually needs to stop being taboo and being talked about. And people kind of, if you try to educate somebody constantly, it's like pop, you have to do this. They more than often they don't want to listen. And if you actually make it, like package it in an entertainment form and show it, it's probably way more educative than otherwise you trying to put it in the syllabus. So I think entertainment bhi ho jata hai, and the things that are supposed to be talked about and you need to talk about, you get them as well.
No, I always personally also I like watching the kind of cinema Rishida used to make, Rishikesh Mukherjee, where you're talking about a social message, but also but layering it up with a lot of entertainment, so that people are getting entertained and also learning something about the society, about relationships, about families, family values. So there's the kind of cinema even I want to watch as an audience, where I'm not really getting upset watching it, but taking back something with it.
Till very recently, a couple of years ago in fact, Made in China meant very, very dubious products that came from there. Electronics,
Didn't we?
electronics and toys. So companies there started saying made in PRC, which is Public Republic of China. That was a clever move. So you're going to change that with Made in China?
Our film doesn't fit in that category that you're talking about. Ki, we used to say, "Arey, Chinese maal hai." Our film is very Indian, a full Indian maal hai ye. And it's the heart is Indian, the story is Indian, the characters are Indian. It's based in Ahmedabad, one of the cities, and as we were talking earlier, I think it's a very relatable film.
Actually, connecting the dots to your first question when you asked about the Chinese president liking it or not, it's actually when we're saying made in China, we're setting the heart in China, which means that we're actually going there and bringing something really nice, and which is helping this one man to create something big.
That should make the Chinese premier very happy.
Very happy.
Do you subscribe to the theory that Indians obsess with sex?
I think sex is one of the most important part of all our lives.
We're making films like
I think it's global. If you're talking about it as being an obsession or something that is in people's minds, it's pretty much global. Which is why you would see or any of the Hollywood or European content not from shying away from it, because it's so universal. What you mean probably in our country, that it's probably obsessed in many wrong ways, like many different times, which is why the rape ratio in our country is so high, and
We can't say Indians are obsessed. I think they are each to his own. I think I'm sure there are people everywhere around the world who are obsessed with it, and there are people for whom it's a part of their life. How it's something which is an important part of their life. It what also keeps a relationship growing and keeps it healthy.
But it's also tinged with a lot of insecurity, is it, for people to want to rely on products like what you're selling in your movie?
It's not insecurity. It's very simple. Like how you get fever, you take a paracetamol, and if you think you have some sexual problem, there's a medicine for that available. There's no feeling shy about it.
And our film's not just about this, it's genuinely about Raghu's journey from rags to riches.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rajkummar Rao,
Hello, I'm Mouni Roy.
and you're watching us on peepingmoon.com.